Hi everybody. This might be a longer video. I try to keep it shortened. I don't want to lose anybody's attention, but at the same time, I want to make sure you guys get quality information and accurate and thorough information from me. This video was requested by Khalid Osman. I hope that's how you say your name. But I'm going to show you how to shorten the shoulder seams of a dress shirt. I've only ever done it on a t-shirt, but I went online to see how other people were doing it because I have in my head how I think it should be done. And so I went online, saw how other people were doing it, didn't really agree with it because when you're doing it with a t-shirt, it's one thing, but when you're doing it with a woven shirt, it's different because you want to have a really good fit. That's the point in doing alterations. So I'm going to do it on this shirt. I'm going to show you how I saw it done, what I feel like is the problem with that, and the way I'm going to do it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to do it on a dress form. This is mine, so it was basically with my measurements, but you would have to do it on yourself. So basically you would just take your shirt and mark where you want it. So here you can see where the shoulder comes down. I'm going to mark it a little bit below that. And I'm going to do probably a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to put it here, and then that would be my seam allowance. Now some people say it should be dropped down anyway, but I'm just going to try it right here where I want it, right on the corner. So I'm going to mark this, and this shirt is inside out. Okay. Now I'm just going to tell you what I feel like the problem is really quick. I was shown that when you take your sleeve off, you cut this and you come directly down as close as you can to the original armhole. Depending on how big it is, if it's just a little too big, then yes, you would do that. If it's larger, I'm going to show you how I think it should be done. The first thing I did was take my shirt to the ironing board, and I pressed a crease right along the sleeve and the shoulder. I did that on both sides, and now I'm going to remove the top stitching. And if it's sewn up like this, this will be the top stitching. Remove that, and where the creased area is, you're going to notch that or mark it somehow with your chalk so you know where to line that shirt sleeve up with the shirt. So I have the mark on the shirt and I have the mark on the sleeve. Now I'm going to remove the top stitching. When you remove the top stitching, if you look down here, the sleeve is sewn in, and then they did the side seam. So you're going to have to open this area up here in order to remove the sleeve. So we're going to take this top stitching out, take this stitching out, which these are the chain stitches, so they'll come out really easy, at least on this one, and then remove the sleeve. And since you've already marked the center cap and the shoulder seam, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I caught that thread. This is actually the thread that holds the sleeve on. The top stitching looks like it's been gone over twice. There we go. Okay, so there goes the sleeve. Now I recommend that you put a pin where your chalk mark is, because we are going to have to press this down and we don't want to lose our place. Okay, this is something I wasn't counting on, but there are some designers or assemblers that put glue in their seams, and it's a pain in the butt, but here we are. So I am going to turn off the camera and take care of this glue issue. Okay, now that I've got the glue off, and excuse my voice, I've been getting sick. I'm going to take this up. Here's my mark, and I'm going to take this up the way that I've seen people explain how to do this. Now, they've only ever talked about if you need to take up a little bit, and actually I did see one person do quite a bit, but what they did was they took this here and then they brought it down and blended it back with the underarm here. And that doesn't make sense to me, because if it's that doesn't make sense to me, because if it's that much too big, then it's going to leave all of this too big, and even here. So I'm just going to do it like they said and see what happens. So the thing is, come here, and they were saying make this transition from front to back like a straight line or a nice blend. So I'm going to do this and then come down and blend it back in with this. And actually this is going to have to come down a little bit lower to take in to consideration the seam allowance. So your seam allowance is actually going to be in this area here and blend in here, if I understand this correctly. So I'll do this the way they say it, and I'll do the other side the way it makes sense to me. Okay, now I'm going to get off of here and pin the sleeve back on. Okay, I've got my shirt pinned on, and I don't know if you can see right here. I'll zoom in so you can see it better, but you can see where the sleeve doesn't come all the way to the end, to the side seam, because we did have to take it up. So that will have to come off. And it looks like it's about the same amount that I took off at the shoulder. So I am going to sew the sleeve on and then close it up by trimming this down, and I'll put it on my dress form. Okay, so far so good. Now I am just going to take the excess right here, and I am going to close up the side seam. which will require taking up more of than just the seam allowance. It's going to take off, you know, you can see how much it'll be taking off here. And because the shirt is big, I am not going to taper back out to the original width of the shirt. I'm going to, if I take off 1.5 inches at the top, I'm taking it off all the way down. And here there are no chalk marks. I didn't mark it, but I can see where the edge of my fabric aligns with the lines on my throat plate. So I just make sure that it's going to stay that distance all the way down. Okay, let's get it back on the dress form and see how it looks. Okay, I don't know if you can see this very well, but you can see how this lies more flat because that seam is right on the shoulder, and this one comes out more because the shoulder seam is down here and not up here where the other one is. You can see how that looks there. And then see if I can get on this other side. And it's come in a little bit, but when I was wearing it, this right here still looked really big. So I'm gonna see if I can remedy that on that side. Okay, everybody. Sorry about the mic. This is the shoulder that I did, and you can see the shoulder seam is right up here where my shoulder is. This one is still down below. And I wanted you to see the underarms. It looks like it pulled it in a little bit here, and you can see how much bigger it is here. So it did make an improvement, but not much. So this still is not going to fit me. Even though the shoulder fits, the underarm doesn't fit. So I am going to do the alteration that makes sense to me on this side, and I'll let you see what that looks like when I'm done. Okay, while the camera was off, I took the sleeves off and I dealt with the glue issue again. And now I'm going to do this side the way that makes sense to me. So what I did was I took 2 pieces of my printer paper, put it together, and I'm going to put it under here, and I'm going to get an exact outline of the shirt armhole, well, as close as I can get it. So first of all, I'll just outline this. And the reason why I'm doing this is because when you downsize a shirt, if you don't deal with this armhole, then on a smaller person, it's going to be like, it's going to be too low. As it is, it's just going to be too low. So I'm going to cut this out, and I'll show you what I'm going to do next. I try not to say too much because I'm not sure if it's going to work, but we're just going to go on this little trial together. I'm not going to say that it is definitely going to work, but this is just my method, and this is a way I kind of solve these problems for myself. But already I see an additional alteration that I'm going to have to do. Now, normally people don't buy shirts as big as this is for me, but I'm hoping that this will help solve your problem if you wanted to take your shoulder seams up, and if the rest of the shirt's too big as well, you know. And if this doesn't work exactly the way you need it, then maybe by seeing this, maybe you can come up with an idea that would help with what you're looking for, if that makes any sense. So this is what it looks like here, and the armholes here. I'm going to attempt to just move it straight across. Actually, I'm going to have to follow this. This corner is going to have to trail up this shoulder seam. And in doing that, it's going to bring the armhole up and hopefully bring it closer to where it needs to be. So if I align this right here to where I need this, you can see the armhole is brought up. So it's coming up, and that's what we need. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have to, so I'm going to mark it here because this is where we'll actually cut the shirt. Here and then here. So I am going to, I'm just going to cut here. I'm going to save this for later. And in this way, I'm attempting to keep the exact armhole shape, whereas there we kind of had to change the shape. I want to keep the same shape and see how differently that looks. And then I'll go back and take this up, and then because this is way too big for me, I may have to take this up further up under my arm, because the lower the arm's eye under your arm, the more your shirt or your jacket is going to raise up when you have to move your hands up. So the higher you can get it and closer to your body, higher up under your arm and closer to your body, the less your shirt moves when you raise your hands up. So I'm going to pin the sleeves back to the shirt, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my shirt and my sleeve pinned back together. No, I'm just going to sew this on and then deal with that side seam. And I'm sewing it back on with the 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay. There's a sleeve, it's on. And you can see where I marked it. I'm going to turn it inside out and just start here and then meet up with this down here, or vice versa, whatever, or the other way around. Okay, and this is what it looks like. So the sleeve hasn't changed, but because we moved it back, it kind of raised up a little bit and then opened this all up. I mean, left me all of this to trim off. I'm going to try it on and see what it looks like. Okay. This is the side that was done according to how I think it should be done. This was the side done the way I saw it done online. And I think both the shoulders look good. And you can just see a little bit difference. This pulls up a little higher under my arm, but it's, for me, it still wouldn't be enough. I'm still going to try and downsize this for my size, which would mean that I can take this shirt from this seam, I can bring it up even a few inches all the way up until I get under the arm where that, And I would take the arm's eye seams and I would make sure that they match up where my fingers, my thumb and finger are. And then I would blend it back down to the side. And I'm going to attempt to do it on this side. And then they would be even. So I'm thinking I can probably do maybe 1.25 inches. So I'm going to try that. Okay, I took the shirt off and I marked right here the 1/4 inches up that I'm going to take off. And I'm measuring from the stitching line, not from the raw edge. So 1.25 inches up from the stitching line, I marked it here. Now, if you need to take up the sleeves, I would take it straight out to the cuff. Now, if the cuffs are okay with you, you don't need to change that part of your shirt, I would take it straight down and blend it back into the original stitching line right here. And if you do want to take it up all the way through the cuff, I will leave a link in the description box of a video that I did on how to resize your cuff. So if you need to do that, I'll link it down there. I might put it up in a card. But I am not going to leave the cuffs on for me because I don't want a cuff shirt. So I'll save that for another time. I'm not going to do it in this video. Okay, so I took it up to the 1.25 mark here. I tapered out to the cuff, and here I am just going to take it down. I'm just going to go straight down. And just all the way down. If you want to take the hem out, sew it down, then put the hem back up, I will leave the link for another video down below explaining how to do that. If not, and you just want this really easy, just take it all the way through. Here on this shirt, they match up, so that's not going to be an issue. So I'm going to mark the other side, I'm going to sew it, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, this is the finished shirt. I did not take my hip measurement, so it's a little snug here, but I don't plan to keep it this long because the end of the shirt tails is like 4 inches above my knees, so that's going to come off. As you can see, the armholes are still low. There's really not a lot I can do about that without really changing this area, the chest area. You can see how it starts to pull. That's because the armholes are still too low. They should be somewhere up here, but that's why it doesn't work to take your shirts up if it's that much too big. That's why you need to make sure, if you can, that your shirt it fits in the shoulders, and then everything else can be dealt with. They look like they both fit pretty good. This one is a little more snug under the arms because I moved that pattern in, and I probably didn't need to move it in so much. So there you go. Hope you guys like this video. Hi everybody. I hope you liked that video. Actually, I hope you understood that video. This was the hardest video for me to record. It took me 3 days and tons of retakes and tons of editing. And the reason is because when you alter clothing, and I'm doing a video like this, I try to anticipate any problems you might have or any questions you might have. So as I anticipate those questions, it just adds more information that I need to put in there. And so the learning isn't just straight beginning, middle, and end. You're going beginning, oh yeah, there's this way, and then there's that way. And it's like, I just hope you guys understand it. So Did you guys catch all my mistakes? Like, I didn't measure myself first. I kind of have an idea of my measurements, but I didn't put it in there. So my recommendation would be, if you have a little bit to take up, do it the way other people tell you. Just off the top, blend right into the armhole. If you have a lot to do, kind of do it the way I was doing it. Maybe not so much unless you take your measurements first. So I hope you understand it. If not, go ahead and leave questions, and I'll just keep trying to make my videos better and less confusing. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Hit the bell so you're notified when I upload more videos, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.